Okay, right. So, welcome again. My name's Ben over in the Costa Blanca region of Spain, here to talk to you about relocating. And for anybody wanting to sort of spend a long period of time of the year here and how you go about it, it's going to be split into two parts. We're going to sort of talk about the locations, and we're going to talk about the cost of living here. And later on, we're going to talk about things like Brexit, etc. As I'm sure you've got the schedule, you're aware. So we'll just start, we'll jump straight in. If anyone does have any questions, please feel free to drop them in the chat and then we can discuss that towards the end. So if anybody has sort of considered Spain as an area to invest in or an area to holiday in or an area to relocate to, and they're torn between different countries, let's say Italy or France, people may sort of ask or even think, well, why Spain? What's the drawing attraction with Spain? One of the drawing attractions with Spain is by far and away the most, for most people, is the weather. The weather is fantastic. Pretty much, I would say all year round. You've obviously got winter, sort of, which comes in around about sort of November. You really feel the temperature difference and the drop in temperature. But around about sort of May, around about Easter time, you'll find that the temperature picks up. People are in t-shirts and shorts again, and with over 320 days of sunshine. I remember, and for many, many years, I've had Christmas dinner on the terrace over here, and absolutely enjoy it. The weather is fantastic here. The cost of living here isn't too expensive either, and that's not only just with buying property. That's things like groceries and your bills and your day-to-day living. It's not too expensive at all. So I think the most expensive utility bill that you will find here is actually, surprisingly, the water, because of the sanitation process that needs to take place with the water. And considering that obviously the rainfall, especially in the Costa Blanca, isn't in abundance, the water is quite a sacred commodity over here. So the most expensive bill you will find is the water, and then close second is your energy. First and foremost is your electric. Gas isn't really widely used here. Most people will use gas on a gas bottle system, so there isn't a mains gas in the vast majority of the Costa Blanca. But if you do have, let's say, a gas boiler using one of the gas canisters, which you will pick up from most of the major petrol stations, and you can actually have it delivered as well. You'll find that it lasts a really, really long time. It's quite energy efficient, and you'll find them for around about sort of 25, 30 euros a canister, dependent on the manufacturer and the supplier. So not too expensive at all. Obviously, I can't go into too much detail how long it will last, but if you're providing it's say a two-bed, two-bathroom property, you've got a gas-powered boiler, so it's being used for your showers and your hot water for washing dishes and clothes, etc. I would say anywhere from 4 to 6 weeks before you're due for a replacement. If you are wanting to use that for your heating as well, then obviously it will deplete a lot quicker. So other than that, you've got your energy, but with the use of solar panels now being really, really good and the technology improving on a day-to-day basis, it's reducing energy costs. And in some cases, people are actually selling their energy back to the energy provider, one of the main ones being Iberdrola, which is the main energy provider in Spain. And they're able to not only have their property run energy or cost-free, but also actually make an income, a return on that as well, depending on where you're situated, on what your usage is. But if you can put solar panels on your roof to provide free energy in a sense, then I would highly, highly recommend it. Now, the ease of getting to the location as well, I think, is quite important. You've got the main airport, which is Alicante Airport. Above that, you've got Valencia, and then below that, you've got Murcia Airport. So Alicante Airport is by far and away one of the most popular airports in the Costa Blanca, along with Valencia Airport. Murcia is a much smaller airport, but as time goes by, they will start to do further improvements and expansions on the airports. I'm sure that regular flights will start to take place from most major airports around the world. So Alicante is right in the middle. Above that, you've got Valencia. Below that's Murcia. And you've got flights, as I say, sort of from all over, from especially from the UK and Ireland. They're pretty much direct, but from all over Europe. So if anybody is watching this from the UK and you're thinking, ease of access, if I had to nip home on the spur of a moment, or grandchildren have just decided that, you know, they need to see mum and dad for a reason and you need to fly back, then, you know, it's not a problem to actually get back. The cost of flights are not expensive at all, especially during out of high season, and even during high season, then it's not too high. You should be able to get back relatively inexpensive. So that's one of the drawing points, especially for the area, is the ease of access, and the transport links are great. Bus routes which will take you to and from the airport, especially to most major towns, north and south of Alicante Airport. North of Alicante Airport, the property is a lot more expensive than the southern region of Alicante Airport, going down into Murcia. And coincidentally, when I say the Costa Blanca, I am incorporating Murcia into that as well. Technically, it does cut before Murcia. The Costa Blanca is from Pilar de la Horadada right the way up to Denia. But I'm sort of incorporating the two just for the ease of this conversation. So with regards to if you're sort of thinking to yourself, well, you know, I'm going to go there, let's say, and I'm going to spend, I don't know, 300,000 euros. I'm going to have a property which is going to be by the coast. It's going to be close to all the shops, bars and restaurants. You will probably have much more success in finding that south of the airport than you would, you know, north of the airport. Although north of the airport's a lot greener, it's got far more coves, and it's a little bit more exclusive, if you like to use the word exclusive. But obviously with that comes a cost. So the properties are a little bit more expensive, slightly smaller in terms of price per meter squared. You will get more value for money in the southern region. And again, you know, you've got the exact same weather, the microclimate still exists, and you know, you've got ease of access within walking distance to shops, bars and restaurants. I think you would need to, I would say, probably visit both areas before you can determine which area is going to be best for you. If you have already been to Spain and you have already been to the Costa Blanca, especially if you've been to Murcia, you would have already noticed the contrast between Murcia and Alicante. Alicante is a lot busier, and Murcia is by far and away a lot quieter. Slightly more residential. You'll find that it's populated with expats, but mainly it's residential with locals. You know, Spanish people live there. They have a second holiday home there. And during the winter, it can get a little colder than you will find in Alicante, going right the way up to, let's say, Denia, you know, below that, Benidorm, etc. So great thing is you've got loads of stuff to do. And in fact, what I will do is, rather than me do that, I'll just try and share my screen with you all. So that way you can just have an idea. Hopefully that should be sharing across now, but you can see I've just sort of earmarked with the red dot, obviously just using Google Earth, Google Maps. You can see Alicante Airport there, and you can see just how close you are to the southern part and to the northern part. Denia is here, and I think most people know Benidorm or have heard of Benidorm, or possibly visited Benidorm. I'll just quickly go through the areas, what you can expect each area to be like, and which areas I feel are good for expats. So as you come out the airport, you'll notice straight away Elche and Santa Pola. Elche and Santa Pola are very, very popular with Spanish people and expats as well, but mainly it's traditional. It's populated more with Spanish and, in fact, people from Belgium and also Swedish as well. But Santa Pola is a really nice area. It's more of a city. It's more of a, especially Alicante, is more like a city centre in the UK, but by the coast. And the Santa Pola area is just a smaller version of that. Going down, you've got Guatemala and Torre Viejo, which again are both two well-known areas. And this is classified as the Orihuela Costa. This is Orihuela itself. Then you've got the border, which is that line going up here. And then this section will be Murcia. This area is La Manga, which is that area here. And this area will be classified as Marmion. So just around about here is an area called Santiago de la Ribera, which I have done a walk along when I was at the beach. I think it was a few days ago now, sort of towards the beginning of this week. So by all means, if you've missed that, please feel free to click on our YouTube channel, Ideal Homes International, and have a view on that if you want to get more of a visual sense as to what the beaches are like in that area. You've got drawing attractions in areas like Torre Viejo of the salt lakes. You've got the mud baths, which you can basically go in and put mud all over yourself, and it's meant to be fantastic for the skin. Never tried it myself, but it's meant to be really, really good. And especially in Alicante. Now there's lots to see and do. It is a drawing attraction for tourists. I'll see if I can just share this with you all. So let's just get that a bit bigger. Okay, so this is one of the drawing attractions in the area. A lot of people have sort of commented as to how nice it is. It's basically Santa Barbara Castle, which overlooks Alicante Marina. It's got lots of historic value. It's going back sort of medieval Arab origins. There's lots to see and do in and around that area, but a lot of people like it because of its vantage point. When you're at the top, you can literally see pretty much the whole of Alicante in the 360 sort of panoramic view. And if you want to while away a Sunday afternoon, sort of going up and traveling to the area is definitely a must. And very impressive during the day, but during the night when it's all lit up, and I'll show you another photo now. It's just really, really special. It's something I would urge anyone who's not been to definitely go to. So it's one of the drawing attractions, as I say, but lots to consider. I mean, there's also the okay, let's get my teeth in, archaeological museum, which is also there as well, which sort of goes into the origins of how Alicante was formed. It gives you more of the historic background behind it, and really gives you an idea as to how many cultures have influenced the area, from Jewish to Christian to Muslim. It's a really, really nice museum to visit if you haven't been. Then you've got the Paseo, which is basically the promenade, and lots of shops, bars and restaurants which are along the promenade. It starts from the old town and goes right the way up to the marina. So loads of people have again commented as to how nice it feels because you've got the sea breeze, you're just strolling along. And in fact, walking is a big part of Spanish culture, and this is a prime example of that. So it really does give you the sort of the sense of what Spain is like. So, Alicante is a really good place to visit. You've got the old town of Alicante as well, not just the slightly newer areas. So again, these pictures are not doing the areas justice at all. But the old town is the cobbled streets, the small sort of Spanish shops. You've got really nice restaurants, hairdressers and churches. And, if you've got, now most people have good enough cameras on their phones, you will feel the memory quite easily by visiting the area. So just to give you an idea as to what those areas are like, and hopefully that will sort of inspire you if you do visit the area to go and have a look, because there's lots to see and do. It's not just a matter of just sitting on the beach and maybe just having a coffee at a cafe. There's plenty more to Spain has to offer. So what's life like cost-wise in regards to your ongoing costs? Not too expensive at all. I think most people have found that it's usually cheaper than where they're located, especially if you're from the UK. The main two costs that you will find is your living costs, which we've just covered, but then you've got your community tax, or your community fee, and also your council tax, which is known as your suma. Now, both of those are not too expensive at all, and I obviously can't give you an exact figure because it will be determined by the area, the size of the property, and also what province you're in. But to give you an idea, if you're, let's say, for instance, by the coastline and you're in a 2-bed, 2-bath property, and that property has one heated swimming pool, it's got access to a gym, and it's got real grass. Now that's a difference, because if you need a gardener to maintain and upkeep the grounds, then your community fees are going to be higher. So if you have that, you're probably going to pay anywhere from 450 to 600 euros on a yearly basis. To give you a bit of a contrast, if you're, for instance, on a golf course and you're in, again, a 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom property, you've got the upkeep of the grounds. Let's say we use one property that I know quite well, which has use of 20 pools. You've got security. That property, including internet access and also TV as well, will be closer to about 100 euros a month. So over just under, in fact, 1,200 euros on a yearly basis. But it does incorporate a lot more, because if you factor in, you've got your TV and your internet, which will cost probably around about 50 euros a month anyway, you've come right below into that threshold of around about sort of 600 euros a year, which is really what you want to budget for with regards to your community fees. But again, it depends what facilities they offer. So if you're, be conscious if you're going for a property that has, lots of swimming pools, it has lush green gardens, it has gym access, spa facilities, things of that nature, you will ultimately pay more. And then if you're going for somewhere which maybe just has use of a pool, which, it's in a good location, so you've got, your amenities within walking distance. And if that is sufficient for you and you don't need any more than that, then it's absolutely fine. But anywhere from say 300 to 600, maybe sometimes more, dependent on the services, is what you should expect for your community fees. With regards to your council tax, again, 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom, close to the coast, €450 a year. Again, if you're going into, let's say, inland and you've got a 3-bedroom property, lots of land, that can also cost €400 a year. So it very much depends where you are and also what province you're in. But with any property, then I'm sure you will probably find that with your final decision. Now, this brings me on to my next point. It's a very good idea to try and get as much information as you possibly can regarding your expenses before making that final leap and really seeing if it's going to be manageable for yourself in your circumstance. And this is probably something that you're going to do anyway, but try and speak to as many people, go on as many forums, make sure, for instance, where I am, I actually thought that my rubbish collection was actually incorporated into my council tax, but it's not. It's a separate cost. So it's not a huge cost, but it's something just to bear in mind. Now, each place will be slightly different. So the more information you can get and the more calculations you can make, hopefully that will hold you in good stead moving forward and give you peace of mind that you can comfortably afford to live over here in Spain. People say, what's the figure that you should expect to have? You've bought a property, so there's no mortgage on the property. And, you've got all of these bills, you need to feed yourself, maybe petrol because you're running a car. What do I need on a monthly basis to comfortably live in Spain? And I would probably say anywhere from €1,500 up to around about €2,000 a month. But that very much depends. Again, that's a speculative figure. It depends on, how much you eat, for instance. If you've got a plot of land and you're due to grow some of your own produce, it could be down to, how much energy you're using. I, for instance, do not like air conditioning units personally. So I try and ventilate my house without using air conditioning units. And that's really not only just to save costs, but also for me, it's bad for my chest. So for me, that saves a lot of money on a monthly basis. But obviously air conditioning units are quite, in terms of energy consumption, can be quite high if you're running them, sort of all year round. Most air conditioning units run hot and cold. So, these are things just to bear in mind, make some calculations and see, if that's viable. And the more people you can speak to, and the more information you can get, from people like myself who are actually living here already, can try and give you a bit more information, then that's going to, hopefully hold you in good stead. The World Health Organization actually said that the Costa Blanca region of Spain is one of the most healthiest places to live, which is brilliant. And I have to say, coming from London and coming from the rat race of London, traffic and pollution and confined spaces, I have to say that I feel a lot healthier since moving over here. To give you a bit of background on myself, I used to live in the Costa del Sol and then moved to Portugal, and then I moved over here roughly about, must be about 2 years ago now. So I can honestly say I think it's the sunshine. I don't know what it is. It puts people in a good mood. Maybe that releases chemicals in the brain that just makes you feel good. Whatever it may be, I feel healthier. I'm in a much more positive frame of mind, and haven't looked back since, really. One thing I want to sort of touch on as well is the healthcare system. We do have, especially if you're listening from the UK, obviously speaking from as an expat from the UK, the healthcare system here is fantastic. It's really, really good. It's quick. It's efficient. It's just fun. I can't fault it. In fact, Torre Viejo has one of the best hospitals voted in the world. So just to give you an idea, and that's just due to patient care and also the innovative technologies that they're implementing in the hospital to take care of their clients. So in terms of healthcare, I wouldn't worry at all. The healthcare system is great. The only thing I would suggest you do is make sure that if you are on prescriptions, that you can get your prescriptions easily over the counter here. Again, this is just going by what people have told me, it's not always easy, because what is considered to be a prescription is sometimes over the counter, and what's considered to be sometimes over the counter is a prescription. And also the cost as well on some medication is a little bit different. So things like antihistamines and you just even painkillers are a little bit more expensive than what you may find in your chemist back home. Not hugely, but just a little bit more. So if you do have prescriptions, just check out the cost, and if it's, you know, if you're going to be able to just literally pick up your prescriptions over here in Spain with no problems. And again, there's people in place who can help you with that, so it's not too bad. So another point I just wanted to mention as well is the pensions. Now, pensions, as far, obviously this is pre-Brexit, well, post-Brexit and pre-Brexit, we're in limbo at the moment, so we don't really know what's going to happen, and this is a problem for a lot of people. So I don't really want to sort of go into too much detail with regards to pensions, etc., because it could change. I don't think it's going to change hugely or have a dramatic impact for quite a few people, but I do think they may change it slightly in terms of how you pay, how you receive it. But before I go into that, I want to make sure that what I'm saying is factual. At the moment, it is speculation, so I won't sort of go into too much detail there. So for people who are, let's say, for instance, considering, say, Spain, different parts of Spain, because obviously we're focusing on the Costa Blanca, maybe you've got the Costa del Sol in mind. I've lived in both areas, and both are absolutely fantastic within their rights. I would say that the Costa del Sol is just a little bit busier, and also property-wise can be a little bit more expensive as well. But it's still fantastic. It's nice and green. It's quite a lush area, is the Costa del Sol, and easy to get to with Malaga Airport. Costa Blanca offers pretty much the same type of lifestyle, but for a lot cheaper. And that's why we're seeing a lot of clients who once had property in the Costa del Sol, they're now selling their property to then buy in the Costa Blanca. And with the difference in cost that they've accumulated, they're using that to help fund their lifestyle over in the Costa Blanca. So again, that's not rule of thumb. I would say check out both areas if in doubt. But you know, having lived in both and speaking from personal experience, I've got the sun, I've got the sea. I can literally walk out of my front door and I can be 10 minutes, I'm at the beach, and you know, that's the type of lifestyle I want. It's lovely and quiet, good food. And I think for a lot of people, that's pretty much all they're looking for out of life when they're coming towards retirement age. So what's the cost of property like? I'll just go through some areas with you. Again, I'm going to share my screen. Excuse my hesitation when doing this, because I always seem to make a mess of it, but give me 2 moments and I'll just show you one area. Okay, so okay, now I should be sharing now, if I've done that correctly. Okay, there we go, success, brilliant. Right, so this area is called Pinadi Campo Verde, which is here, just here. And as you can see, you're not by the coast, but you're not drastically that far inland. This area is populated with expats and obviously locals as well. You're just on the border of where Murcia will start. But the great thing about it is you're in an established area, so you won't need to, you know, have Spanish as a second language. You can quite happily live your day-to-day life just speaking English. But it's a fantastic place to consider because you're not too far from where let's say the hustle and bustle of areas like Cabo Roy, La Zenia, Playa Flamenca, Punta Prima, going up to, let's say, inland, Villa Martin. If you're someone who plays golf, I'm sure you would have heard of Villa Martin because there's a Los Colinas golf course, and there's also Villa Martin golf course as well. You're not too far from the airport, and the road connections leading you into these areas are fantastic. They've been established for many, many years, and I haven't experienced any hiccups with them. Always working, kept clean. There's never any sort of building works going on, causing disruptions. So that's an area I would definitely recommend. And the property prices there, and this is the reason why it attracts so many expats, the property prices are very, very good. So I'm just going to share with you using our website, and coincidentally, if anybody does want to check out our website, it's idealhomesinternational.co.uk. So this is one property we have in Pinadi Campo Verde. I will just scroll through the description. I will let you guys read in your own time. If you want to go onto our website, the reference number is PIP170, but it's a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom property. And I think the great thing about this property is that there is an underbuild, which is commonplace for properties in this area. So the underbuild basically allows you to create a whole separate dwelling within that property. So you could have separate access to bathroom facilities. You've obviously got a bed and a living space. So if you had family members want to come over and visit, and I don't know, for any reason there wasn't enough space, you've always got that space down there if you did make the conversion. I was going to say something about my mother-in-law pushing her down to the basement, but I think I'll leave that joke alone. So here you've got the views of the property. Again, you would have to use your imagination and put your own stamp on it, but I think you'd agree it's you know, but if you were to take the furniture out, it's a good size, and there's a lot you can do with the property. So the gardens are quite nice. Now, this is just a utility room. Don't worry, it's not your kitchen. It's towards the back of the property. But there's space to obviously park a car. You can.
Hi, Ben. I'm really sorry to interrupt. Your screen is stuck on the map. We're not actually able to see the property.
Okay, just give me 2 moments and I will try and start that again. As I said, thank you guys for your patience there. And there's always something that happens when I try and do it. So let's just try that again. How's that? Is that better? Hopefully that should be showing now.
It's just loading, 1 second. Yeah, that's better. Thank you.
Thank you. So I'll just scroll through the property. And again, if you want to have a look, I'll mention a reference number so you can have a look in your own time. But this property is being sold fully furnished, and you've got access to park a vehicle. And this is a home. Obviously, if you're planning on relocating, you're not wanting a holiday home. And I think the two is they're slightly different. You know, with a holiday home, you can put up with it if it's near the coast, but it's a little bit smaller. Maybe it doesn't have all the storage facilities that you need. You know, maybe it's a 2-bedroom, when ideally, if it's going to be a home, you might want another bedroom for guests or family members to come over. You might want to create a study. Coincidentally, you know, you want an area which has good internet reception, and you know, to keep in contact with your family back home, which areas like this do, because they are residential areas. So this is a property which I think fits the bill, and the area is really, really nice. It is a residential area, but all your supermarkets, bars and restaurants and things like that are within walking distance. And that's the reason why Pinadi Campo Verde is really sort of taken over in the last, say, five years, and has become one of the main places for expats to retire to. Mainly because, again, it's proximity to and from the airports, the shops. Once you're here, and I know from personal experience, living in London, you know, I have a lot of people that said, you know, how many times did you go to this museum, or how many times did you go to this theatre, you know? And I was like, never, you know, I've never even seen, you know, Big Ben until I was like in my 20s. And it's a scenario where what's on your doorstep, you can sometimes take for granted. And I think the same can be said for beaches. You know, if you know that the beach is there, it's not going anywhere, I don't think there's an immediate rush to be right by the coast. And I think a lot of people see that the same way. So they know that, you know, if it's a half-an-hour drive or a 20-minute drive away, they can make a day of it. You know, they can go over, pack a picnic, you know, or maybe grab some lunch or some dinner while they're out. And they're quite happy to make that commute because they know it's only going to be done maybe once every 2 weeks, once a month. Other than that, they're you know, in the car, maybe exploring other parts of Spain. So for that reason, people do decide to go a little bit further inland because they know that the value for money is better, and their needs are just a little bit different to what you would if you were to go from a holiday home. So just to, if anybody missed that, we just cancel that. So if anybody missed that, that's the property is PIP170. If you wanted to know what the reference number is on the property. So again, there is lots of options really. You know, there's issues where some people say, well, I don't want to necessarily go for somewhere which is too remote, i.e. a country property, which are lovely, and you get lots of land. And if you're into growing your own produce, there's an area called Crevillent, which I would highly recommend. But there you're a little bit more remote. But to give you an idea, for that same cost, you will get a huge plot of land. You probably get a 12 by 4 foot swimming pool. There we go. And you know, if you wanted to have an olive trees, lime trees, orange trees, apple trees, fig trees, you can have that all on your site. So if you're somebody who's got green fingers and you know, that's what you're looking for, it does exist. It's just that you're a little bit further inland. I will show you another property in an area, let's have a look, which is called La Florida. Okay, let's try this again. Oh, I'm getting good at it now. So this is a ground floor apartment. Now, again, this area is a little bit more centralized. It's in La Florida, which is probably no more than a 10-minute drive to the Zania Boulevard, which is a shopping mall, which is really, really big, quite well known. In fact, it draws in a lot of tourism. So not too far from the beach either. You can be at the beach in, again, under 10 minutes. It's not too far at all. And I think I've got a map, so I can kind of give you an idea as to where it is. So this property is quite modern, sold fully furnished, just needs a few of your white goods in the kitchen. But as you can see, I hope I'm not scrolling too fast, I'll just slow down a little. But as you can see, it's adequate. Again, you could quite happily, everyone's different, you can quite happily retire into a property like this. Some people do not want to have an upkeep of a huge garden. They much prefer something small, just enough space for a table and chairs to sit out and enjoy the weather. You know, we've also got to bear in mind that a lot of people will spend a lot of the day outside. They'll, you know, venture off into and visit local areas, and maybe even take trips up to Barcelona or even down to areas like Andalusia. So this property here, to give you an idea, is 150,000 euros, 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom. As I mentioned, it's in an area called La Florida, and that's close to Punta Prima, Cabo Roy, Lasagna. So it's pretty central, but there is options where you can go for a property similar to this, which has, because it's on the ground floor, some outside space. Bungalows, this is something to bear in mind as well. If you see the word bungalow over here in Spain, it's not bungalow how we would imagine in the UK. It basically means there's a dwelling which has use of a garden, and then there's a dwelling on top of that which has use of a solarium. So just to give you a bit of heads up on that. So if you are sort of wanting to, let's say for instance, you've sold up in the UK, you know, you've sold up for, let's say, 350,000 sterling, and you want to come over to Spain, you've then decided, no, I'm going to go for something modern. This is what I would recommend, or the build style of what I would recommend. This developer is quite well known over here. It has a large enough pool where you can dip in and cool off, but you know, that's you know, if you are wanting a pool, then you know, that size, then I'm sure you will be able to find one. But it's adequate for most people. You've got use of a solarium, and again, it's very modern on the inside. This property has electric shutters. It's got a full security system in there as well, which actually links up to let's say, you know, to the police. So, you know, you can feel assured that you're in a secure property, but the area is pretty safe as well. And this, again, property is being sold fully furnished. So again, it's not something that fits everyone's requirements. Some people want something a little bit more traditional, maybe with the traditional sort of Moroccan influence with the arches and the brickwork. And you know, those properties obviously exist. But if you are wanting something modern, I'm more of a sort of, let's say, contemporary minimalist, modern type of person when it comes to especially properties, then this is the type of thing that I would select. This is on the cusp of where, again, Alicante meets with Murcia, so it's just on the border. But you know, 299,000. It's in a fantastic area. It's a residential area, which is quite quiet, but your supermarkets and shops are just minutes away. 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom. And again, with the fact that you have the solarium, it just gives you a little bit more real estate to entertain, to sunbathe, to just read a book and chill out. It's yeah, definitely lots of possibilities on a property like this. You can see the reference number there. I won't say it all just because it's quite long, but if you are wanting something like this, or you're wanting ideas like this, just let us know what you're looking for. And my email address is just there, so feel free to jot that down, send me an email, and I can send you a tailor-made portfolio of properties that I think will be good for you to consider. So lots of different options there. I do have some more, but I won't sort of just I won't sort of go through them all, because it would take quite some time. But you know, there's quite a few different sort of properties that you can choose from, and the choice is vast. The main thing is really to speak to someone like myself who can fully understand your particular situation and your circumstances. And if you think that you're going to want an apartment which is close to the coast, you know, maybe you don't drive and you want to make sure that your transport links are there, then, you know, again, just let me know, and I'll try and prescribe the best properties that fit your requirements. That's pretty much all from me. If there's any questions, let me just have a look in the chat. I did see a few questions that came through. So, okay, I think somebody's considering Spain versus Portugal. What's the main differences, and what's your personal preference? My personal preference is Spain. I can't really fault Portugal, and I totally understand why people will opt out for Portugal. Portugal for me is really nice. It's picturesque. You've got lots of fantastic beaches. It's quite niche because the span of land is quite small. So what's there is there. So, you know, it's really nice in terms of your lifestyle. If you're into fish, the fish restaurants there are fantastic. And my personal preference is Spain solely because I used to live in Spain before Portugal, and I'm not sure if it was purely because of that which created my influence. But having then picked up the Spanish language a little bit, and I was able to conversate and get by day to day with Spanish, I think I was allowed to integrate easier in Spain than I was when I was living in Portugal. I think the main differences for most people is it's slightly cooler, and that's actually, you know, for some people not necessarily a bad thing. Portugal's a little bit cooler because it's, you know, more along the Atlantic, so you've got that Atlantic breeze coming through. And, you know, during the summer here, it can be quite warm. So, you know, that's definitely something. If you're not somebody who likes, you know, intense heat, you know, if it's going up to say 40 degrees and that's not for you, then maybe Portugal is going to be of consideration, because during the summer, the climate is relatively the same. You can have slightly cooler nighttime temperatures, but during the day, it is comparable. So over here, it's just a little bit warmer. And also with regards to properties, it's just that little bit cheaper. So for some people, it fits in with their whole price budget structure. Not to say you can't find what you're looking for in Portugal, but the span of land, as I said, is a lot smaller. So therefore, that's going to dictate choice. So here you've got so many costas going up from Costa Brava, you've got Costa Calida, Costa Blanca, and obviously the Costa del Sol. There is just a lot more choice. So people can usually find what they're looking for in one of the many costas, and still get the weather, and still have the fantastic lifestyle. Really, what more do you want? So that's my personal preference, but I would say it's only personal. So, you know, check out both areas, speak to as many people as possible, and see what fits for you. See if there's any more questions. Somebody's just said, what's it like to drive over in Spain? To drive is fine. Obviously, we're on the reverse side of or the opposite side of the road as to how we are in the UK, for instance. And I haven't had a problem with driving. In fact, to buy a car here isn't that dissimilar to how it is elsewhere in the UK, but the insurance is a lot cheaper, I found. So to insure a car here isn't as much as it was. I mean, I remember paying, when I first passed my driving test, close to £4,000 on a yearly basis. I think even then I was living in an area which was just over £1,000. This is after being over 25 and hitting all their credentials and having no claims bonus. And to be honest, coming straight over here, I haven't had an issue. I'm paying now €700 a year. So just to give you an idea. So the only thing to bear in mind is that they take roundabouts a little bit differently, and but I won't sort of go into too much detail on that, but they take it from the inside lane going to the outside lane, and rather than the outside lane out. And can be a bit confusing, but you do get used to it after a while, and most people are just quite happily going around the roundabout at a reasonable speed for you to process all the information to take it safely. So I haven't had any crashes, touch wood. So making sure I don't for the future, don't want to jinx myself, but yeah, no, it's been absolutely fine. Let's have a look. Okay, so could we clarify on the cost of living, because 1,500 to 2,000 seems a little bit high. Yes, the reason why I've kind of structured in that cost is purely down to, you can do it a lot cheaper. Some people can do it for under €1,000 on a monthly basis. It all depends on what your lifestyle is like. It all depends on what as I said, the energy consumption and your water rates being the two highest of your utilities. But you can do it far cheaper. But even for instance, let's say, you're applying for residency, they will want to see somewhere in and around about 1,500 to 2,000 euros a month as an affordability moving forward before granting residency. That's not a strict rule of thumb, but it does work in your favor. The amount I've given you, I've tried to be as conservative as possible, as if you were doing, whatever you wanted, whenever you wanted. If you were going to restaurants and eating out, let's say 3 to 5 times a week. But no, you don't have to go anywhere near that. You could do it a lot cheaper, but that all comes down to trying to really factor in what your expenditure will be. Things like your community fees, your council tax, your utility bills, etc., your food allowance, all of these things. Obviously, jot them down, get a list, see how much that all comes to. Obviously, you've got petrol costs, car insurance, house insurance. You may have other insurances like healthcare. You may have personal healthcare insurance. All of these things are going to be little tags that will then start to push your living costs on a monthly basis, just that, higher and higher. But by no way near you need to go to 1,500, nowhere near to 2,000. It's just me giving you just a very generalized overview, but without looking at your personal circumstance and your expenditure in detail. It's quite hard to give a sort of specific answer. So please take that as just a benchmark, just a rule of thumb. But by all means, if you have any further questions regarding that, we can speak in detail. I've got some PDFs that I can send out to anyone wanting to know what the average living cost of X, Y, and Z is. Okay, so can you go over what retirees can do in the Costa Blanca? Yeah, okay, so there's lots to do, lots of places to visit. You've got museums, you've got obviously marinas where you can go and visit. You've got golf, bowls, tennis, walking, water sports like kite surfing, jet skiing. If you're someone who's adventurous and you still want to do maybe, jump on the back of a jet ski, you can definitely do that as well. So really, there is as much as you would expect anywhere else in the world. I don't think this area lacks in activity at all. Very much dependent on your interest. If you wanted to join the gym 3 times a week, 4 times a week, maybe get into, yoga or Pilates or something along those lines, and there's special classes set up for people over 60, then, you can quite happily do that. And it's a great way to socialize and mix with and meet new people. So there is absolutely lots of things to see and do. Really, it's just limited by your own imagination. But the main ones I would say is definitely bowls, Spanish bowls, which is very, very obviously popular here, and golf. Those are the sort of the 2 main activities for retirees that tends to take place here. But there's so much more. I mean, there's coach trips, which goes into, let's say, Ronda, into Valencia, into various parts of Spain. And they sort of run on a weekly basis, especially during the summer, like now. And you get to meet new people, and you get to spend, time in the culture and really absorb it. And another thing retirees may want to do and may want to consider doing is learning the language. Language schools here are not expensive at all. And for the term, you can pay as little, well, starting from 40 euros is the cheapest I've seen it for a term. And with one-to-one tuition for a term starting at 100 euros, then it gives you a chance to try and learn the language. And that will, believe me, help you integrate into the culture and into your society. So if anybody does want to do that, and you want a list of language schools that have been recommended, I, for my own personal use, have a list, and I'll be more than happy to forward that across to you. But yeah, lots of things to see and do. Okay, let's just have a look and see if there's any more questions. Has anyone else got any more questions for me at all regarding even the buying process, or anything about property, or anything about various subjects we've discussed across this whole webinar series? Okay, well, I think that pretty much concludes it from me. We do have a bit more information regarding Brexit coming up a bit later, and obviously we can discuss what the implications will be there. But otherwise, I'd just like to leave my email address again, which is ben@idealhomesinternational.co.uk. Please send me an email if you do have any questions, what we've discussed. If you have any questions regarding property at all, please give me a call, give me a shout. I'm sure my contact number has flashed up on the screen, but see if we can put my contact number on there now for you. And we'll, feel free to ask me any questions. If you want to discuss anything in private, then it's not a problem at all. But otherwise, okay. Now this is really bad. I used to know my contact number off the top of my head, but subsequently, I don't know if it's just due to being lazy with mobile phones, having stored all your details nowadays. I can never remember my number, so I'm just going to say it now for you. So it's 0044, which is the UK-based 7518 065922. And you can also call us from the free phone number, which is 0800 133 7644. So if you're calling from within the UK, that's a free phone number. Feel free to get in contact with me. There we go, it's on the screen now. Okay, great. So I'd just like to wish everyone a fantastic Saturday. The sun is absolutely scorching over here. And if anyone is going to join in later for the discussion, it's only going to be an overview of what Brexit could entail. Then I'll see you later. But for now, that's bye-bye from me.